Good morning, everyone. Thank you, or afternoon, depending on where you are. Thank you so much for joining us for Cultivating Calm. This is part two of four in our self-care mini webinar series. My name is Carrie Ann Gwynn. I am our Verizon Skill Forward project coordinator. And this webinar is sponsored in part and in large part by Verizon through our Verizon Skill Forward program and partnership. And the reason being is that we have found over and over again, as I'm sure that you have in your work with clients, that unless we have a felt sense of safety in our bodies, there are a lot of things that go offline. We stop goal setting, we stop having a strong immune system, digestion goes offline, sex hormones, so many things. And so when we can start to create safety within our own bodies, it allows all of those other things to grow, like creativity and joy, goal setting, forward movement. And so this is a part of what we do within our iteration of Verizon Skill Forward. So we want to help equip you with these types of tools so that you are able to look at your life and think, gosh, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? What do I want to achieve? And you actually have the ability to do that. So we are excited to be able to partner with Verizon because the Skill Forward platform has over 400 online courses that you can take completely at your own pace. You could invite a friend, you could learn together. There's courses and topics from AI to leadership to social work to communication, public speaking, finance, Spanish, and seriously, so much more. I can't even list them all. I know I sound like an infomercial, but wait, there's more. But there really is. You also have the ability to learn to earn professional certificates completely for free. So you could go apply for a job and say, "Hey, I got a professional certificate from Harvard in leadership and communication." You have access to all of that. In the chat, there is a link to create your account if you have not already. We would love to be able to support you along this journey. Again, thank you for joining us for Cultivating Calm. Last week, we talked about the polyvagal ladder. We talked about polyvagal theory and kind of mapped out different parts of our nervous systems. If you were here last week, will you let us know in the chat? I was here. We would love to see how many repeats we've got. You were here. Yay, Jamie. Awesome. Hi, Laura. Hi, Christiane. Renee, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're back. This is amazing. This is the first time that we've done a mini webinar series like this. And so we really appreciated your feedback as we got going. Okay, we talked about polyvagal ladder, and I am going to put that up on the screen again. But before I do so, I want to invite you into what's called a containment hug while I explain this to you. So, what you're going to do is you're going to take your right hand, you're going to put it in your left armpit, hopefully an armpit that has cloth on it and is not just sweaty. And then you're going to take your left hand and place it on your right shoulder. So we're creating a little bit of a cross. We're crossing the midline of the body. Your right hand is around your heart space, left hand is resting on your shoulder. And I want you to just hang out in that position right now. This containment hug is something that you can do at any point. It is one of my favorite practices for just creating a sense of comfort and that containment. I know there are moments in our lives when we just need a hug, and sometimes we can ask people for that, and sometimes we need to be able to offer that to ourselves. So, this is one of the ways that we can offer that to ourselves. So for those of you who were here last week, this will be a little refresher. For those of you who are new, you may be completely new to polyvagal theory. This theory was created by Dr. Stephen Porges as a way to really understand these different states of the nervous system. So you have a vagus nerve that is coming from your brain stem down into the chest cavity of your body, and it is going out into all major organ systems. So when we have really good vagal tone, as it's called, or the vagus nerve is basically in good shape, it's able to bring us into ventral vagal presence, which is at the top of the ladder. ideally, this is where we're gonna have our default. We can't live here all the time because stress exists in the world, and we're meant to have little bits of stress that we go into and come out of. But this ventral vagal presence is a feeling of confidence and safety and capability. And the story that feels the most true for the nervous system in this place is I got this. I have what it takes. Whatever comes my way, I can handle it. I wonder if you have ever been in a place like that where you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be okay." We feel usually connected to other people in meaningful ways. Often we feel the state of ventral vagal presence after we've been with close friends or people that we love or that just really understand us. And this is where we want our default to be. And then a little bit further down the ladder, we have sympathetic activation. And this is what we're actually going to focus on today because it's so important and it's a place where a lot of us are living on much too regular a basis. And we know this state very well. The feeling is I'm unsafe, I feel threatened, I have to do something now or else. It's this urgency. And we often refer to this as fight or flight. So that feeling of I want to run away or I have to fight whatever is going on. And you might feel this as different impulses in your body. I've shared before that for me, the fight, because of my personality, the fight impulse is very strong for me. And so I often will find like I have a lot of physical aggression that wants to come out, and yet I know that it's not appropriate usually to do that. And so I even have a friend who said, "Gosh, you seem like you're not okay. Do you need to just punch something right now?" And I'm a nonviolent person, and I said, "Yes, I do." So this friend put their hands up, and I just Tybo Billy Blanks for like 30 seconds, and that helped move the stress out of my body so that I could move on. We often feel this. There are people who they want to run. They want to run away from their problems when they're in this state of sympathetic activation. And we're going to come back to this, but I want you to just think like, gosh, when have I felt this? You might even be feeling this right now. And that's understandable. There's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot that's out of our control. There is a blended state between sympathetic activation and dorsal vagal shutdown that I want to touch on. That is our freeze state, where the story is I have to do something now, but I can't. And I think that state is really common right now as the world is spinning madly on. And there's a lot of things that are out of our control, but they all are so important and so urgent. But what can we do? The bottom of the ladder is dorsal vagal shutdown. This place is overwhelmed. Depression lives here, immobilization lives here. And the story that feels true in this state is I cannot handle what is coming my way. I don't have what it takes. Often, when we see someone who's in this state, we're witnessing actually a physical collapse. So the shoulders might be slumped forward, the head might be hanging down. You can often see this in others. And I, as I've continued to get more in touch with my own body, I notice this impulse within myself, that I will just want to be in the fetal position, or I just want to lay on the couch and bring my knees to my chest, or be in a cozy blanket and do nothing. And I'm guessing that you have felt that feeling before too. And hopefully, as we chat about this, it gives you language and words to be able to use so that you know, oh, this is what's going on in my body right now. And dorsal vagal shutdown and sympathetic activation, these are protective states. Okay, so when you think that, I want you to just take a moment as you're in your containment hug here and just say, "Body, thank you for protecting me." Our bodies do so much to protect us on a daily basis. And sometimes that protection is needed, and sometimes it's an old loop that keeps happening, right? And we can say, hey, thank you for doing that when I needed you. And we don't need to shut down anymore, or we don't need to run away. We actually are safe. And the goal of cultivating calm is to not just tell you that you're safe, but to actually help you feel that safety in your body. Because if you don't feel it in your body, it doesn't really exist. When it comes to somatic work, the majority of communication is not going from brain to body. It's not like, oh, well, I think I'm safe, so my body just get on board and we're fine. It actually goes from the body up to the brain, communicating safety. I'm curious, as we've spent a little bit of time in this containment hug, I'd love to hear in the chat, what did you notice, if anything, shifting in your body, your mind, your breath while you were in this position? You noticed your breath a little bit more. I love that. A sense of calm. It does feel comforting. Yeah. My heart was racing at the start and has calmed, the tension leaving the body a little. I love that. Heartbeat slowed down. So good. Warmth with calm. My mind has calmed. Yes. I got distracted and already let go. That's okay. Warmth. I don't feel really comfortable. Yeah, that makes sense. There are moments in which some of these somatic practices, they might not feel comfortable, and in that moment, I would encourage you to find something that does feel comfortable. So, is there a different position, maybe hands gently on your chest or hands placed on your thighs, something where you're making contact with the boundary of your body that feels not just tolerable, not like I'm uncomfortable, but I can get through it, but this feels at least neutral, if not present. We've got some folks saying they got distracted. I understand. Our goal here is to try and increase this window of tolerance. And speaking of windows, if you have like email, text messages, phone, whatever on notifications, I want you to turn all of it off. Okay. Close the windows, at least minimize them, close down your email. This is only 30 minutes. And as challenging as it can be to try and be in this space, I want to encourage you to challenge yourself in this way. I've got my phone on Do Not Disturb. Text messages are not coming through. My computer, nothing's coming through. Someone says my body was like, okay, that's enough, kind of panicky, like it was too much, but really it was hard to stay in it. That completely makes sense. When we are used to being and living and functioning in a place of more sympathetic activation, it can feel very uncomfortable to start bringing some of these practices into the body. And I just want you to know that that's okay. There is nothing wrong with you if you were like, that was hard, that was uncomfortable. Why didn't I feel the warmth and the calm? We all have a different window of tolerance, and we're making something new, right? We're basically learning a new skill, a new habit. And if you think about it, like any type of hobby that you first start and you're like, whoa, that's really hard. I don't like this. And then eventually you keep practicing. Let's say it's crocheting and you're like, this is really difficult. And it is. I remember the first time I learned how to crochet, I literally was in tears. I was so frustrated. And I was very young, but I think I would have been frustrated at this age as well. And then we slowly keep coming back to it, and we're kind of micro dosing these little bits of nervous system regulation so that as we go, we can climb up the ladder. I hope that that is making sense. So today we're really resting on the idea of sympathetic activation, our fight or flight state. I want to hear from you. How do you know if you are stressed? What are the clues that your body gives you that you're stressed? Oftentimes people will say, "Oh, I can't really feel my body." I'm like, "But you know you're stressed. So how do you know?" My chest starts to shake. I hold my breath, so common, rapid heart rate, headache, shoulders hurting, eyes twitching, tight shoulders, headache. Yeah, there's a lot of shoulder and neck tension, migraines, rapid pulse, getting more irritated. Absolutely. Okay, this is a crew that is in touch with their bodies. I am loving this. Decision fatigue, yes. Stomach feels like butterflies are trying to get out. Totally. Feeling sad, retreating into self. That feels safer, right, than being out in the world. Tension in the body, arms can hurt. All of these things are your body saying, hey, can you please listen to me? And I think of our bodies as being like a child. I am a mom. My son is 6.5. And if I don't respond to him, he gets louder. And the same thing happens with our stress and our somatic experiences. Our body might be saying, hey, I am struggling right now. I'm struggling. And if we don't respond, if we don't tend to what is there, the body has to get louder and louder and louder. And that is not good because eventually it does turn into things like chronic inflammation. And as a cancer survivor myself, and I was living in a state of fight or flight for a very long time, I have learned the hard way the impact that chronic stress can have on one's body. And so today we're talking about sympathetic activation. What do we do when we feel this jaw clenching headache, tension everywhere? I want to run away. I want to scream, whatever that might be. What do we do with that? If you have smart devices in your life that are tracking your health, they often use the loop, right? So it's like, oh, close your health loop for movement or for sleep. Emotions are similar to that, where if we leave them untended to, they're just lingering open. And every day we want to be able to close that loop all the way. So we're going to walk through a couple different exercises. Exercises is a weird word. Let's just say things that you can do when you are feeling that sympathetic activation. I'm guessing that most of us are sitting in chairs at desks right now. So, for the sake of our practice, we're going to keep it all just sitting down. Ideally, we would be able to stand up. That's one of the most helpful things is movement. Movement is one of these ways that we close the loop. Because when all these things are going on with stress, cortisol is rising. And movement is the way we get it out because we are primal beings living in a modern world. So remember, we're cavemen, and our cavemen, they would run from the saber-toothed tiger. They would fight the enemy. And we often don't allow ourselves to do that, especially as women. We often do not allow ourselves to close that loop on anger, on frustration, on rage, on sympathetic activation. And so today we're going to learn how to close that loop. We're going to learn a few little tactics. One of them is shaking out the hands. I want to invite you to do this with me. And imagine that you have gotten your hands super wet washing dishes. And you realize, oh my gosh, I don't have a towel. All my towels are in the laundry, paper towels are gone. And so you just shake your hands off and you're shaking that stress off. Imagine that whatever is stressing you out is just flying off your fingers right now. Okay? Are you doing it with me? I hope you are. I know you're using your hands, so you probably can't type while you're doing this, but I hope that you're doing it. The hug was called a containment hug. That is one thing that one of my favorite coaches, Sarah Jackson, teaches in her online classes. She's awesome. So we're shaking, and then can you bring your arms down and just wiggle your shoulders, keep wiggling your hands? I notice that my body wants to have like a big exhale. And a lot of times with somatic work, we're just trying to listen to what is already there. We don't have to always learn new things. We just need to listen to what's already there. Shaking can be a nice way to get that fight or flight energy, or you might even want to do this as though you're running. Okay. Gwendeka says the more I do it, the less heavy they feel. Yes, totally. Maybe you can't run. Maybe you feel that instinct, but you just can't do it. I know that for me, running is extremely painful because of some chronic pain stuff that I have going on. But moving my arms like this and moving my legs is giving me the same experience of running. So I'm going to do it. Brittany, if this makes you want to stretch real big, that is exactly what you shall do. Okay. And now we're going to slow down the movement. We're coming down to a slow jog or a slow shake if you're still on the shake. I'm noticing that my breath has totally changed. It feels like the sighs that are coming are a little nervous system shift where there's a little bit of calm. And now I'm going to slowly make my movement so small, so slow that it's more of an energetic movement, not something that's so obvious to the naked eye. And I want to invite you into that as well. You may choose to close your eyes. You may choose to keep your eyes open and just on something that is lovely or neutral to look at. And I'm going to lean back into my chair. We talked about this act of giving our bodies proprioceptive input where we're making contact with the boundary of the body. And so as you lean back into your seat, whether you're in an office chair or on a couch or sitting on the floor against the wall, allow yourself to feel the pressure, the support. Notice different qualities. Is the surface hard? Is it soft? Do you feel a little bit more held just by having this support? And I'd love to hear in the chat, did you notice anything shift for you during that practice? Suddenly very aware of the two walls of windows in my office, but they see me being weird all the time. So I'm letting that go. Yes, I love that. I felt heavy. I hope maybe in a good way. There's a lot of different ways to feel heavy. So much more calm and relaxed. My eyes feel softer. Yes, in a good way. Awesome, Brandy. I love to hear that. Yeah. I love to hear that. I think it's a good reminder too, just as we move and we get all that energy out, we're compressing muscles. Muscles are contracting. We're basically taking that cortisol and instead of the our livers having to, we only have one, but we all have livers plural. Instead of our liver having to process all of that excess cortisol, we're actually using it. We're getting it out. We're closing that loop on whatever that feeling is. And I want to share a brief story with you to just help you gain awareness of your own state. I had a coaching client through our Skill Forward program that I was going to be taking through our 5-week curriculum. And it was evident to me this was not going to be able to happen the way that I thought it was because the client was really activated about some things going on in her home life. And I am not a therapist. However, I have this somatic practitioner training. And so I thought, you know what? If we can't do the curriculum, we need to help create safety in the body. So as we were talking, I'm noticing that she's talking with her hands. Her hands are doing this over and over again. And she's saying, I just want to yell and I want to scream. And I'm like, whoa, we got some good movement here. So for me as a somatic practitioner, and you can do this to yourself, okay? I was watching her body and I'm like, huh, okay, you really want to yell. Your body is needing that outlet to yell. And I said, is there anything stopping you just from yelling right now? And she's like, I can't yell. I'm in XYZ situation. I can't. I'm like, okay, that's totally fine. I said, could you pretend to yell? She's like, what is that? Pretend to yell? And I said, what if you use your body and you use your face to create the sensation of yelling without the noise so that no one hears you? And it could look like this. So my muscles are tensing, my face is tensing and opening as though I'm yelling, which communicates to my body, my brain, hey, thank you. You gave me what I needed, and we can close that loop. And she was like, I don't think I can do that. People can see me. I said, okay, that's okay. What I'm seeing is your hands. You keep this motion keeps happening as though something is wanting to come out. And I said, what if we pair breath with movement here? Are you comfortable doing this? So we're breathing in. And she said, yes, I can do that. So we stayed with that for just 2 minutes. At the end of those 2 minutes, this client, you would have thought she was a different person. Her voice had slowed down, her body movement was so much less intense and erratic. And you get to be the detective when you're in sympathetic activation. If you have a pen and paper near you, I want you to grab that right now because we're going to do a little bit of writing. It's just going to be for 2 minutes, but the prompt is I wrote something down that I'm wondering if I put the same thing with our team. Hang on just a second. Yes. When I'm activated, my impulse is to dot dot dot. When I'm activated, my impulse is to dot dot dot. And whatever comes out, this is a no judgment zone. This is stream of consciousness writing. You're just writing whatever it is that your body most often needs when you're in that fight or flight state. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do this and then we'll come back together. All right, one more little prompt for you. And it is this: next time I am activated, I can. And I want you to just choose one thing that you can do when you are activated. Next time I'm activated, I can. What can you do? And if you have questions, if you want to chat more about this, I would love for you to email me if you don't have an answer to this question. And you can share with me what the impulse is, and I can help you figure out what is something that you can do so you can close that loop, so you can get out of that activation state so that you can move forward in your life, in your day, towards the things that matter to you. Um, that's important. It's important to be able to have these tools. And by showing up here today, you are building those tools. And I am so, so glad that you showed up. We will be here next week as well. We're going to talk about dorsal vagal shutdown and what do we do when we're in that space where we just want the fetal position, but we can't. And if you have not already joined the Verizon Skill Forward program, we would love to have you. There is a link in the chat to do so, and we will see you on the inside. We will see you next week. Okay, Margarita, you can email me. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here.